All right, so get ready to rewind back to the 90s.
Oh, yeah.
Because today we're diving deep into some iconic black cinema.
Love it.
From that era. And we're talking films that didn't just entertain.
Right.
They sparked conversations, they challenged norms.
Absolutely.
And became cultural touchstones. You know, you sent over a list of films reviewed by the Daateku channel on YouTube.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, this selection is fire.
It's a good one. Yeah, it's really fascinating how these films capture a specific time and place, yet their themes continue to resonate with audiences today. And that's really what we're going to unpack today, why these movies made such an impact, what they tell us about the 90s, and maybe even discover new layers of meaning by looking back at them with fresh eyes.
I love it. Let's kick things off with Set It Off.
Okay.
A 1996 film that grabbed me from the opening scene.
Yeah.
I mean, 4 women pushed to their limits deciding to rob banks.
Yeah.
Talk about a high-stakes premise.
It's a good one. And it's more than just a thrilling heist story, though.
Right.
Set It Off dives deep into the social and economic realities. Faced by black women in the 90s, think limited opportunities, systemic barriers, and the constant struggle to survive. Their desperation becomes a powerful commentary on the times.
Oh, totally. And, you know, watching it now, the scene where Frankie loses her job after being unfairly accused of theft, it hits so much harder.
It does.
You know, it perfectly captures the frustration.
Yes.
And the feeling of being trapped with no way out.
Yeah.
And that's what drives these women to such extreme measures.
Exactly. The film doesn't shy away from showing the consequences of their choices either.
Right.
It's a roller coaster of emotions, from the thrill of the heists to the gut-wrenching realization that they're in way over their heads. It's a story that keeps you on the edge of your seat while forcing you to confront the systemic issues that lead to these desperate acts.
And we can't forget the powerhouse cast. Jada Pinkett Smith, Queen Latifah, Vivica A. Fox, and Kimberly Elise. They absolutely kill it.
They do. They really do.
Their performances are raw, vulnerable, and totally unforgettable.
Now, remember how you mentioned that the plot felt familiar?
Yes.
Set It Off actually draws inspiration from the 1972 film The Getaway.
Oh, wow.
It takes that classic heist narrative and reimagines it with a focus on these 4 women navigating a very different set of circumstances in 90s Los Angeles.
That's what makes it so brilliant. It pays homage to a classic while also forging its own path and delivering a powerful message about the realities of being a black woman in America. Okay, next up we have Menace to Society.
Oh, yes.
A film that takes us straight into the heart of South Central LA in 1993.
This was the Hughes brothers' directorial debut, and they did not hold back. It's a raw, unflinching portrayal of life in a community plagued by violence, poverty, and systemic racism. The film follows Kane, a young man trying to navigate this world while also yearning for something more.
Man, that scene where Kane witnesses the brutal murder of his friend in the liquor store.
Oh, yeah.
It's shocking. It's heartbreaking. And it sets the tone for the entire film.
It really does.
It's a stark reminder of the constant threat of violence that loomed over these communities.
And it's also interesting how the film uses Kane's internal monologue to give us a glimpse into his thoughts and struggles. We see his intelligence, his desire to escape this cycle of violence, but also the pull of his environment and the lack of opportunities that keep him trapped.
It's almost like he's caught between 2 worlds, pulled in opposite directions. He knows there's a better life out there. But the path to get there seems impossible. And then there's that heart-stopping scene where he's finally ready to leave with his girlfriend.
Oh, yeah.
And well, I don't want to spoil it for those who haven't seen it.
Yeah, the ending of Menace to Society is definitely one that stays with you. It sparks debate and forces us to confront the harsh realities faced by many young black men in America even today. The film's power lies in its unflinching portrayal of these realities and the systemic issues that contribute to them.
It's a film that demands to be discussed, debated, and analyzed. And, you know, for a film made on a budget of just $3.5 million,
wow,
the impact it made is incredible.
That's amazing.
Speaking of impactful, let's switch gears to a film with a completely different vibe. Poetic Justice from 1993, starring Janet Jackson and Tupac Shakur.
Now, this is where we see John Singleton's signature blend of romance, social commentary, and raw emotion. It's a film that explores themes of love loss, healing, and finding your voice in the face of adversity.
I remember watching it for the first time and being completely captivated by the chemistry between Janet Jackson and Tupac.
Yeah.
Their connection feels so genuine and heartfelt, even amidst all the pain and struggles they're going through.
And the way Singleton uses poetry as a central element of the film is brilliant. It's not just background noise, it's woven into the narrative.
Right.
Giving voice to the character's innermost thoughts and feelings.
The scene where Justice performs her poem at the open mic night, pouring her heart out about the loss of her boyfriend.
Oh, yeah.
I get chills every time I watch it.
That's a powerful scene.
Such a powerful and vulnerable performance. And the way the camera lingers on her face, capturing every ounce of emotion, it's just breathtaking.
Poetic justice is a thing that really showcases the power of words to heal, connect, and inspire. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, there's beauty to be found in art and expression.
Absolutely. And speaking of art and expression, let's move on to a film that's pure comedic genius.
Right.
Friday from 1995.
Oh, yeah.
This buddy comedy starring Ice Cube and Chris Tucker is a hilarious and insightful look at life in South Central LA.
It's a film that finds humor in the everyday struggles of two friends trying to navigate a world filled with colorful characters and crazy situations.
Right.
But Beneath the Last Friday also touches on some serious themes, like unemployment, drug addiction, and the challenges faced by Black communities.
I mean, who could forget the iconic scene where Smokey convinces Craig to smoke weed for the first time?
Oh, yeah.
It's pure comedic gold.
Yeah.
And the way Chris Tucker delivers those lines, it's just perfect.
It's brilliant. What's interesting about Friday is how it manages to balance those laugh-out-loud moments with subtle social commentary.
Right.
It doesn't shy away from showing the realities of life in South Central, but it does so with a sense of humor and heart that makes it relatable and engaging.
It's a film that celebrates Black culture while also offering a nuanced look at the challenges and triumphs of everyday life in these communities.
Yeah.
And you know what? It's amazing to think that this comedy classic was made on a budget of just $3.5 million.
Really?
Talk about bang for your buck.
Wow.
But let's not get too comfortable with the laughs, because our next film takes us to a much darker place.
Okay.
Dead Presidents from 1995.
Yes.
Also directed by the Hughes brothers, takes a hard-hitting look at the aftermath of the Vietnam War and the struggles faced by returning veterans. It follows the story of Anthony Curtis, a young man from the Bronx who finds himself drawn into a life of crime after his experiences in Vietnam.
Right.
This one is a stark contrast to the lightheartedness of Friday. The scene where Anthony witnesses the horrors of war firsthand is brutal and haunting. It sets the stage for his descent into darkness, showing how trauma and the lack of support can lead to devastating consequences.
And you know, it's no coincidence that the Hughes brothers chose to tell this story.
Right.
They're known for tackling tough, often controversial subjects, and Dead Presidents is no exception. It forces us to confront the human cost of war and the challenges faced by veterans trying to reintegrate into civilian life.
I remember reading that the title Dead Presidents has a double meaning. It refers to the money they're stealing,
Yeah.
but it also symbolizes the disillusionment and the loss of innocence that Anthony and his friends experienced during the war. It's a powerful metaphor for the broken dreams and the shattered lives that are often the legacy of conflict.
It's also interesting to note that Dead Presidents features early appearances by some familiar faces.
Oh, really?
Tony Sirico and Michael Imperioli, who later went on to star in The Sopranos.
Wait, really? I never noticed that. See, this is what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover, even in films you think you know well.
Exactly. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of these incredible films.
Okay.
So let's take a quick breather, and then we'll come back and dive even deeper into the themes, the symbolism, and the cultural impact of these.
Conflict.
It's also interesting to note that Dead Presidents features early appearances by some familiar faces.
Oh, really?
Tony Sirico and Michael Imperioli, who later went on to star in The Sopranos.
Wait, really? I never noticed that. See, this is what I love about these deep dives.
Yeah.
There's always something new to discover, even in films you think you know well.
Exactly. And that's just the tip of the iceberg. We've only just begun to scratch the surface of these incredible films.
Okay.
So let's take a quick breather, and then we'll come back and dive even deeper into the themes, the symbolism, and the cultural impact of these 90s classics.
Sounds good.
Myself that we could be more than just friends. I know you think that we moved too soon. It would all end. I live in misery when you're not around, and I won't be satisfied
welcome back to our deep dive into 90s black cinema.
I'm ready.
We've journeyed through stories of heists and coming-of-age struggles.
Yes.
And the power of poetry, but as you know, we're just getting started.
It's been fascinating to revisit these films and see how they hold up today.
Yeah.
We've already talked about the powerful performances, the gritty realism, and the thought-provoking themes.
Yeah.
But I'm ready to go even deeper.
Let's do it. Remember how we talked about Set It Off, drawing inspiration from The Getaway?
Yes.
It's fascinating how the film takes that classic heist narrative and gives it a fresh perspective by centering it on the experiences of black women in the 90s.
Right, it's not just a gender swap Set It Off. Delves into the specific challenges these women face, from workplace discrimination to limited economic opportunities, and shows how those systemic issues contribute to their desperate actions.
It's also interesting to compare Set It Off to Menace to Society in terms of how they portray the cycle of violence.
Okay.
In Set It Off, the violence is more calculated a means to an end, but in Menace, it's more impulsive, ingrained in the very fabric of their environment.
And, you know, both films spark really important conversations with the consequences of those choices.
Yeah.
In Set It Off, we see how the women are ultimately consumed by the violence they unleash.
Right.
While in Menace, the tragic ending leaves us questioning whether escape from that cycle is even possible.
Speaking of sparking conversations, Menace to Society faced quite a bit of controversy upon its release, didn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Some critics praised it for its unflinching realism and its powerful social commentary.
Yeah.
But others accused it of glorifying violence or perpetuating negative stereotypes.
All right.
It was a film that definitely pushed buttons and challenged audiences to confront some uncomfortable truths.
I remember reading an interview with the Hughes brothers where they talked about how they intentionally wanted to create a film that would make people uncomfortable, to force them to look at the harsh realities of life in South Central LA. And they definitely achieved that.
You know what? Even with its gritty realism and tough themes, there's a certain beauty to Menace to Society.
Oh, yeah.
The way it captures the energy and the vibrancy of that community, even amidst the chaos, is remarkable. And the performances are just phenomenal.
Speaking of phenomenal performances, let's talk about Janet Jackson in Poetic Justice. She absolutely shines in this film, bringing a quiet strength and vulnerability to the character of Justice.
Her performance is heartbreaking and empowering at the same time.
Yeah.
And, you know, I remember watching it as a teenager and being blown away by the way the film weaves poetry into the narrative.
Yeah.
It's not just a gimmick, it's integral to the story, giving voice to Justice's pain, her grief, and her resilience.
You know, the whole concept of urban cult classic really applies to Poetic Justice. It captured a specific cultural moment, resonated with a particular audience, and continues to be celebrated for its unique style and its powerful message.
But wasn't the pacing a bit slow for some viewers?
Yeah.
I remember some critics pointing that out at the time.
That's a fair point. Poetic Justice definitely has a more contemplative, introspective vibe compared to some of the other films we've discussed.
Right.
But I think that's part of its charm. It allows us to really sit with the characters, to feel their emotions, and to appreciate the beauty of the language.
Okay, let's lighten the mood a bit and revisit the comedic brilliance of Friday. This film is just pure joy to watch. The chemistry between Ice Cube and Chris Tucker is electric.
Oh, yeah.
And the way they bounce off each other is hilarious.
Friday is a perfect example of a film that achieves both commercial success and cultural significance. It's quotable, it's relatable, and it offers a glimpse into a world that many people outside of those communities had never seen before.
And, you know, even though it's a comedy Friday, it doesn't shy away from addressing some serious social issues.
Yeah.
It touches on unemployment, drug addiction, and the challenges faced by black families in a way that's both humorous and insightful.
Remember that scene where Craig gets fired from his job? It's played for laughs, but it also highlights the economic struggles faced by many in those communities. And then there's a scene where Smokey's dad confronts him about his drug use. It's a brief moment, but it packs an emotional punch.
It's those moments of depth and honesty that elevate Friday beyond just a stoner comedy. It becomes a film about real people dealing with real issues.
Yes.
And that's why it continues to resonate with audiences today.
And let's not forget the film's impact on pop culture.
Yes.
By Felicia has become a part of everyday language, and the film's characters and catchphrases are instantly recognizable.
It's amazing to think that a film made on such a small budget could have such a massive cultural footprint.
Yeah.
It just goes to show that sometimes the most authentic and relatable stories are the ones that connect with audiences the most.
Speaking of connecting with audiences, let's circle back to Dead Presidents.
Okay.
This film takes us on a much darker journey, exploring the psychological toll of war and the challenges of reintegration into civilian life.
The scene where Anthony returns home from Vietnam and struggles to connect with his family is just heartbreaking. It shows how trauma can leave invisible scars that are difficult to heal.
You mentioned the connection to The Sopranos earlier. While Tony Sirico and Michael Imperioli have relatively minor roles in Dead Presidents, it's fascinating to see them in this different context.
It's like a glimpse into their early careers, and it makes you appreciate their range as actors. And speaking of connections, remember how we talked about Dave Chappelle's Whack Arnold skit being inspired by Dead Presidents?
Absolutely. That scene where Anthony is working at the fast food restaurant, struggling to make ends meet, is so powerful. It speaks to the disillusionment and the economic hardships faced by many veterans returning from war. And it's incredible how Chappelle took that scene and transformed it into a hilarious and thought-provoking commentary on the exploitation of low-wage workers.
Like, these films, even though they were made over 25 years ago, continue to inspire and influence artists today. And that's a testament to their enduring power and relevance.
So we've explored the themes of social and economic inequality, the cycle of violence, the power of language, and the challenges of Black masculinity.
Right.
But there's one more layer I think we should delve into before we wrap up: the representation of Black love and relationships.
It's interesting how each of these films offers a different perspective on Black love and relationships.
Yeah.
In Set It Off, the bond between the four women is fierce and unbreakable. They're sisters, they're friends,
Right.
and they're ride or die partners in crime.
Their love for each other is what drives them to take those risks. And it's ultimately what makes their downfall so tragic. It's a reminder that even the strongest bonds can be tested under extreme pressure.
And then you have Poetic Justice,
Yes.
which explores the complexities of love and loss
Yes.
through the relationship between Justice and Lucky. Their connection is built on shared pain, vulnerability,
Right.
and a deep appreciation for poetry.
It's a beautiful and nuanced portrayal of how love can blossom in unexpected places and how it can help us heal from past traumas.
But even in the midst of that love story, there's an undercurrent of tension and uncertainty. Justice is still grieving the loss of her boyfriend, and Lucky is carrying his own emotional baggage.
And those layers of complexity make the relationship feel all the more real and relatable.
And then there's Friday, which doesn't have a central love story,
Right.
but still offers glimpses into the dynamics of Black relationships. Craig's relationship with his girlfriend Joy is full of drama and misunderstandings,
Yeah.
but there's also a deep sense of loyalty and affection between them.
And Smokey's interactions with his baby mama highlight the challenges and the rewards of parenthood, even in difficult circumstances.
It's interesting how Friday manages to weave those relationship dynamics into the comedy, creating moments that are both hilarious and heartwarming.
And you know, Dead Presidents offers a more somber look at love and relationships. Anthony's relationship with his wife Juanita is strained by his experiences in Vietnam and his struggles to reintegrate into civilian life.
It's heartbreaking to watch how his trauma and his guilt push him further away from the people he loves most.
And it's a reminder of the toll that war and violence can take on relationships, even those built on a foundation of love and commitment.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, what stands out to you the most about these films and their lasting impact?
For me, it's their ability to capture a specific moment in history while also addressing timeless themes that continue to resonate with audiences today. These films weren't afraid to tackle tough subjects, to challenge stereotypes, and to offer a glimpse into the complexities of Black life in America.
I think they also paved the way for a new generation of Black filmmakers, proving that stories centered on Black characters and experiences could find both critical and commercial success. They pushed the boundaries of representation and helped to shift the narrative in Hollywood.
And they remind us of the power of storytelling to connect, to inspire, to provoke, and to challenge us to see the world through different lenses.
So if you haven't seen these films, I urge you to seek them out. They're not just entertainment, they're cultural artifacts that offer valuable insights into Black history, culture, and the human experience. And for those who have seen them, I hope this deep dive has inspired you to revisit them with fresh eyes and to appreciate their enduring power and relevance.
Absolutely. These films offer a window into a particular time and place, but their themes and their messages continue to resonate with us today. They remind us that representation matters, that Black stories are American stories, and that cinema has the power to change hearts and minds.
That's a perfect note to end on. Keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the conversation going. Until next time, happy watching.